Bants and Bants. Bants and Bants.
All systems go.
Bants and Bants.
Defiance.
Bants and Bants.
This rebel has a cause.
Bombs and Bants.
We begin as wanderers, and we are wanderers still.
Welcome, everyone, to Bombs and Bants and Wednesday Rants, but we're only going to play some other music because I'm ready to go with the other music.
Oh, are you? Well,
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
It's very professional.
Yeah, it would be, except you wanted to do all of these things at the last minute, and now I don't know where they are in my window. So you're going to have to wait till I find it. Okay, there it is. You ready?
Yes.
There's your music.
But you don't talk over it. Rush didn't. He let it play for a little bit.
Mind if I chew ice into the mic? He never let it go to the lyrics.
Greetings, conversationalists across the fruited plain. This is John Wilder, the host of the most dangerous show in America, with the largest set of brains, serving humanity simply by opening our mouths, destined for our own wings in the Museum of Broadcasting or the FBI Hall of Fame, executing everything we do flawlessly with zero mistakes, doing the show with half our brains tied behind our backs just to make it fair, because we have talent on loan from God. Bombs and Bants, a team, a legend, a way of life. How you doing, the missus?
I'm trying to keep up because you're doing things completely off kilter, and I have no paper to tell me what exactly you might do next.
Don't worry about it, because as a trained professional,
yeah,
you're in good hands. So welcome, everyone. Right now, as of yet, I believe Mark has been snared by some sort of
snare,
small furry animal or something, and so he is not here. And so, just noting, we are live and we are going. So, welcome everyone again. And tonight is going to be a little bit different. And why is that, Mrs.?
Because we didn't have internet all day today, and so it was late enough in the day that I went, well, I can't possibly get everything done that I need to have done to go for tonight, so we just won't go. So I didn't do anything.
Yep, and that's exactly right. So we are going live without a net. That's why I kind of wanted to throw the new, or the different sound that we had. Going through the old Rush bow, a little bit of homage to...
This might have been more appropriate, though.
Come on, man.
Yes, and, indeed.
What am I doing here?
Well, let's start off with Joe. Joe Biden incorrectly told an audience in Colorado on Wednesday that his late son Beau lost his life in Iraq. But we all know that Beau died in a hospital of brain cancer in Washington, D.C. So, yeah,
true internet suffered to pressure.
How much of a politician do you have to be to believe your own lies about your son dying? I mean, the good son, apparently. I mean,
it kind of seems like it's getting to the point where he does believe that, because this is the second time in just a few weeks he's done that.
Yep. Well, at least he's not as bad as Fetterman. Hello, everyone. Good night.
Hello. Good night, everybody.
So we'll be back to Joe in just certainly throughout the show multiple times. I do have the show is kind of going to be a little bit of a preview of some of the things that you'll see that I've collected for the Civil War weather report, which will be coming out on Monday. But we'll also spice it up with things like the Elon Musk $8 footlong. Um, there has been
Oh, right. The Twitter
yeah,
thing.
there has been a great rustling of jimmies on the left. So Twitter, if you're not aware of Twitter, this isn't a spoiler alert, but if you're not aware of Twitter, it is a thing that does exist, and very special people on Twitter get to have a blue check mark. And what that blue check mark shows is that you are the real version of whoever it is. So,
Well, you kind of have to be famous to have that anyway, right?
well, yeah, or
It's not like
slightly
anyone would
famous.
know if I went on there, Mrs. the Missus, that anyone would go, well, who the hell is that? How do we tell if that's the real person or not, right?
Right. You have to be at least internet famous, right? So, people like Donald Trump. I mean, he had a blue check mark. So can saying his name, will that summon the gods
It's
of
possible.
YouTube and get us banned? Anyway, so getting the blue check mark was a big deal because you got it for free, and it allowed you to cut through all of the shadow banning that Twitter has admitted occurs. So now Elon Musk wants to let anybody who will prove
Did you
their
just call him Elon Musklet?
Elon Musk will let.
Okay.
Although Elon Musk
Elon Musklet. I'm surprised he hasn't named one of his children that yet.
and the fond
Give him
Leibowitz-
time, right? Give him time.
and-
He has like
and-
17 or something like that, right?
and the fond Leibowitz memorial killing explosion. So anyway, Elon Musk will now let anybody who will prove that they're a real human being and has $8 a month get a blue check mark. And the blue check marks are livid. They had this own little blue check mark island, and now they're really upset. Stephen King.
They're poking him in the chest with their index finger going, don't you know who I am? I
is
pay your salary.
Stephen King did exactly that. Elon Musk said, hey, Stephen, it won't. Stephen King said, $20, I'll never play it. I'll be gone like Enron. And so Elon Musk goes, well, what about 8? Because, Stephen King, to ask him to pay $8 a month to be special.
Well, here's the funny thing about Stephen King, right? Whom I've actually met in like my real professional life. This was back when he was doing his cross-country book tour, right? And so he was in an independent bookstore, and I was working for a radio station at the time, so I got press passes to go to the press conference with him. So he walks into the bookstore, right? And there's like 20 people or so just in the bookstore waiting for him to come in. So he comes in, and this woman steps up and says, I drove all the way from Iowa to meet you, and that's not a short drive, right? So he gives her a hug and says, I came all the way from Maine to meet you. Walks right past her after that, back into the back room of the bookstore, because he doesn't do unpaid public appearances. He was scheduled to speak that night, and you had to buy a ticket to get in to hear him speak. But you couldn't. He doesn't do book signings, and he doesn't do any public appearances. And this was, God, almost 30 years ago now. So
You're not that old.
I was a pup when this happened. So, and I was very excited to get in and get the chance to talk to him too, because I even got to ask him a question. I was so excited. I still have that tape somewhere around here. It's floating around our house.
There you go. So anyway, Stephen King was very upset, and Elon Musk, von Leibowitz, got into a fight. Got into a fight with AOC. So AOC was
Is she
very
still hitting on him?
Yes, but she more or less said, a billionaire telling everyone they have to pay $8 for free speech. That sounds crazy. And Elon's response, $8, please.
My favorite was his response to when Bernie Sanders replied to one of his tweets, and he just tweeted back to Bernie, I forgot you were still alive.
Yes, indeed. So that's a thing. Again, watching the PNTs get in a collective bind over our Twitter is wonderful. Now, again, I don't think that Elon is really and truly a friend of people who like freedom, but it's amusing to watch him just really irritate people who I know are enemies of freedom.
He likes putting his thumb in people's eyes.
Absolutely.
People who are, he punches up too.
Oh, he does. And this just in, North Korea launched a missile at Japan, or over Japan again.
I heard that they in South Korea were things were getting a little spicy over there.
Well, yeah, and I'll tell you, it. The real difficulty here is that if they get into a fight, North Korea has nuclear weapons, and if they launch, South Korea will never be able to do a deal with the devil because they'll have no soul. Yeah. Best Korea. I'm so glad we have you. So moving through that, I know you have one in particular that you wanted to bring up, and that was an article on the Atlantic.
Yes, in the Atlantic, not on the Atlantic. In the publication The Atlantic, as opposed to being on or about the Atlantic Ocean.
So it's a submarine, so it's in?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
How about from the Atlantic?
So the news doesn't
Then
float.
maybe it's
Go.
just fish.
Well, why don't you intro this and just have some fun with it?
Okay, well, sure. This is written by a professor from Brown University, an economist named...
Does she have a blue check mark?
I would bet she probably does. I don't know. I don't understand how to do the whole Twitter thing, so... Anyway, Emily Oster is her name, and this is the piece that she penned. Let's declare a pandemic amnesty. We need to forgive one another for what we did and said when we were in the dark about COVID. And my first question on that is, you got a white mouse in your pocket? What are you talking about, we? One side of this wanted to put people in camps. Take your children away. Make sure that you lost your job and would never even be able to go to the grocery store. I wonder which side of this debate that was. It's been months ago. I can't really remember. Let's see if she can remind us, shall we? So, Professor Oster says this. I've been reflecting on this lack of knowledge thanks to a class I'm co-teaching at Brown University on COVID. We've spent I imagine she lectures this way. Wait, I have a picture over here somewhere. Hang on. Where is that? Oh, there we are. Very smug, punchable face. Not that I would resort to violence. No.
I mean, you don't have no, but you don't have real feelings about this at all, right?
I have to be very careful when I talk about this subject. I'll get to that later on. Let's talk about this first. Let's see. We've spent several lectures reliving the first year of the pandemic, discussing the many important choices we had to make under conditions of tremendous uncertainty. Some of these choices turned out better than others. To take an example, I know. Which one turns out better?
I just saw a picture. That looks like a dude.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, he teaches economics at Brown. So there you go. Take that for what you will. To take an example close to my own work, there's an emerging, if not universal, consensus that schools in the U.S. were closed for too long. And that just depends on where you were, right? I mean, I've seen a lot of mentions that Florida did it right, but lots of other states did too. Here in Mayberry, where we live, we were out for the spring of 2020.
One semester, yep.
Yeah, but then back in the fall. I mean, there were lots and lots of hoops. We don't need to rehash that crap, but that we're all familiar with. But our kids were back in school, and being, it was full disclosure. My real job here during the daytime is that I am the youth pastor for the Church of Wilder, and so I do run into my young acolytes who are becoming priests and nuns in the Church of Wilder. Nuns?
Nuns.
Yeah,
it's a bunch of nonsense.
It certainly is. So anyway, I do tell my young acolytes from time to time, you're so lucky. Well, you're here at the Church of Wilder for one thing, but that the people in your towns cared enough about you to make sure that you went back to school as soon as possible. Because weren't we just discussing last spring in cities like LA and Chicago getting to go back to school? I mean, I know people who live in the larger cities here around Mayberry that their kids weren't were still just part-time back in school last fall, 2021.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And again, I think there were. I think the Chicago School Teachers Association was protesting from the beaches of Puerto Rico about having to go back to school. So
Right. Yeah. There's that too. Yeah. So anyway, she goes on, the latest figures on learning loss are alarming, but in spring and summer of 2020, we had only glimmers of information. Reasonable people who cared about children and teachers, advocated on both sides of the reopening debate. Yes, but only one side of that got to be heard because the others got immediately yanked down from social media and had their accounts banned.
And also, one side of that demanded that everyone take a vaccine because they said it would stop the spread, even though Pfizer apparently never said it would stop the spread. Okay.
And our president, as recently as I think over the summer, last spring certainly, was saying, if you take the vaccine, you won't get it. You can't spread it.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Speaking of which, she goes on. Obviously, some people intended to mislead and made wildly irresponsible claims. Remember when the public health community had to spend a lot of time and resources urging Americans not to inject themselves with bleach? Personally, no, I don't remember that.
No,
I remember leftists making a big deal about it, but it's not a thing that ever happened. Right?
Yep. Things that never happened.
Exactly. It's it's weird. It's like watching a same movie and walking away with completely different ideas as to what the story was. Anyway, she continues. That was bad. Misinformation was and remains a huge problem. But most errors were made by people who were working in earnest for the good of society.
Well, again,
just like Joseph Stalin and Chairman Mao.
Again,
really just wanted the best for the people.
They call it misinformation, but there was one side of this that was not even silenced, banned from social platforms for saying things. And many of these people are still banned for saying things that are now demonstrably been proven to be true.
Doctors were banned from social media for disagreeing. There were videos that were on YouTube of public health officials talking on the wrong side of this issue that got yanked and their accounts banned because they weren't following the public line, right?
Absolutely.
There were doctors who were threatened to have their medical licenses revoked. Anyway, let's go on. Given the amount of uncertainty, almost every position was taken on every topic.
And I'm gonna have to stop you here because we all have a taste of what she's got to say.
Well, but I want to get to the last line. Shut up. And on every topic, someone was eventually proved right and someone else proved wrong. Yes, and who was proved right in most of those cases? The people you tried to shut up. Last sentence here. In some instances, the right people were right for the wrong reasons.
Uh-oh.
That was the kicker line I wanted to get to in that.
Well, again, yes.
This person on the screen right now, Emily Oster. Can't we just all get along?
Yeah. And the answer, of course, no, we can't. You did this. You created this. You need to own this. And she never said those two magic words. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's one of the things that happened this month. Ready to go through a bunch of other ones?
Sure, we can do that.
All right. We do have video, or actually, we do have a still photo of the Crimean bridge bomber. And I believe his name is Semyon Hydenko.
I put him up there.
Oh, is it up there?
Yeah.
Okay. Haven't gotten there yet. Oh, yep, there he is. Yeah. So that
I have the other version of this one too. So I've got this version.
Oh, let's see the other one.
There it is.
Oh, Sam Hyde.
He can't keep getting away with it.
But yet he does. Carrying on from that, let me go to my big source of memes. French president fires back at Biden. This happened on October 9th for warning of nuclear Armageddon. All the month of October so far. I mean, if you're scared by elves or vampires or orcs or whatever, nuclear Armageddon has been on the menu this entire month. So, and of course, that was Biden, whose son died in Iraq. Okay.
Right.
And this one on October 10th, Kiev now appears to be under constant bombardment of cruise missiles. My only question, again, this is October 10th, is why does Mr. Cruz keep sending his missiles that way?
I blame the Queen.
She's dead.
She's dead. All right. Of course, Kanye happened this month, and everyone knows about that. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time about that.
Well, we talked about Kanye a little bit last week.
We did.
You know what I heard recently, though, is that Goodwill has stopped accepting his shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
You know, it's very interesting. John McWhorter, who is, speaking of professors at Ivy League schools, he teaches English at Columbia, and he's also a linguist. And he has written a book about swearing, curses in the English language, and kind of tracing the origins of the big ones, right? And what he says in the preface of this book is that words kind of fall in and out of favor as to whether or not they are actual curse words or stuff. You know, you ever read a really old book, like from the 1800s, 1700s, right? Dickensian stuff, and they put the first letter of the word, like hell or damn, and then a little dash, so they don't have to spell the word out. That's because those words were such harsh swear words back then that they had to do that, because you couldn't say them in public and not get canceled, as it were, for that day, right? And so McWhorter says that the things that we think of as obscenities and swear words now aren't really obscenities, because you can say them in public and face no repercussions for them. What are real obscenities are things that deal with race, sexual orientation, and certain religions. And I think we're seeing that with Kanye.
And don't
he
forget
has said things that can't be said in public.
And don't forget, you can't talk badly about Amazon, the Rings of Power, because that could trigger a global economic depression. I'm pretty sure that was a parody article, but I thought that was a funny one.
It certainly could depress Jeff Bezos' son, whose one admonition to his father was, "Dad, don't F this up."
Yep. And the Supreme Court just heard arguments on the ending the era of college diversity, and that was an article by Noah Feldman on October 16th, bemoaning that people might have to get in just strictly on merits. Crazy idea, that.
Well, did you hear the interesting thing about this? I'm not finding the story just here off quickly. It was Sonia, I think it was Sotomayor.
Doesn't know the difference between de facto and de jure.
Yes, that's it. Yes.
And
was using the term incorrectly. And, not a law-speaking person myself, or a law-speaking person. Live long and study law. But, and you didn't see my hand gesture when I did that, too. Anyway.
I don't think anyone did.
No. Well, just the dog did, because he's sitting over here with me.
Just letting our studio audience know, we're actually in separate rooms while we do this. I'm in one room and she's in the other. We tried doing it in the same room, but got to be around each other.
Yeah, well, and the sound of punches, so just.
Yep. So I had
room was a mess.
Next article.
No, but what I heard on that is that this is something that a first-year law student would not make a mistake on.
Yes, yeah. And it could be that she misspoke, but she appears to be as dumb as a box of rocks. So,
yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Anyway.
In August of 2022, Deborah...
She's such an idiot!
There we go.
In August of 2022, Deborah Haynes, for the Security and Defense editor, noted that RAF pauses job offers for white men to meet impossible diversity targets. Okay, that was the August story.
Okay.
Here's the October story. Same magazine, same author, Deborah Haynes, China's armed forces recruiting dozens of British ex-military pilots in a threat to UK interests. So August, they fire all their pilots for the RAF, and in October, they're upset because they couldn't find a job. So there's that. This one's a little bit more disturbing. Investigative reporter James Gordon Meek is said to have disappeared after the FBI raided his home earlier this year in April. ABC rep tells the Rolling Stone that he abruptly resigned from the company and he fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, and just no one has seen that guy.
That's disturbing.
FBI, open up!
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Last sounds he heard.
Yes, indeed. And here's a happy thought. Biden is releasing another 15 million barrels from the Strategic Oil Reserve to take it at the lowest level since the second year of Ronald Reagan's presidency. Because, that's responsible presidency. Right?
Absolutely it is. Yeah, I was a little worried there when you said he was releasing something.
Oh, and now the CDC is saying the CDC cannot mandate COVID vaccines in schools.
Then why do they bother with this? Oh, I mean, I know why. We know why they bothered with it, but
yep.
Yeah.
And of course, just about 2 weeks ago, it says this is by Richard Sindlar, and to defend Ukraine, it is time to strike Iran. Do you want a world war? Because this is how you get a world war.
Everything we do, it just looks more and more like it's heading that way.
Mm-hmm. It does indeed. And this is from October 20 on Fox News. San Francisco is building a single public toilet that will cost $1.7 million and won't be completed until 2025.
Because, of course, it won't.
Yes, indeed. It takes more than 2 years and $1.7 million.
What must be what?
Oh, yes, indeed. All right. And this is a new, one that just came out in the last few days. This was actually from Kim.com, who, is that German guy who lives in New Zealand. And
that's a fascinating story.
And Daniel O'Brien notes that the San Francisco toilet is a royal flush. So. That's one, Daniel. Thank you. Kim.com notes this. How do the Russians know that the UK blew up the Nord Stream pipelines in partnership with the US? Because the Prime Minister used her iPhone to send a message to Secretary of State Blinken saying it's done.
You
1
dumbass.
minute after the pipeline blew up and before anyone else knew. So apparently if you have iCloud administrative access, you can get things like that. The phone wasn't hacked, but the Russians have absolute proof that the British bombed the pipeline.
Well,
so
I'm just surprised it was a British. I was pretty convinced we'd done it, but
and so apparently Britain has once again declared war on Germany for the second time in 100 years, right? Oh my! All right. And this is new. Treasury Department officials have begun looking into whether they have the legal authority to start an investigation into the Elon Musk Twitter purchase because of Musk's ties to foreign governments and investors. Yes. Yes, indeed. And in the I have no sense of self, Senator Dick Durbin said, no sense of irony. Free speech does not include spreading misinformation to downplay political violence.
Right.
That's Dick Durbin.
Well, I heard a story the other day that MSNBC has used the word fascist or fascism 1,600 times so far this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep thinking, does the left really even know what fascism means?
I don't think that they do. But I think it's, well, wait, they do. It's Trump. Anything, of course, or anything
China.
they don't like is fascism. And one thing that not a lot of people know is that Antifa started in Germany. I think most people know that, but it started before that certain party headed by the Austrian man started up. The anti-fascist reaction started before that one party that everyone thinks about. So when they say anti-fascist, they mean anti anyone who owns anything.
And that seems to be it.
It really did.
Yeah.
But let's see what else we have in the news. Did you have any more stories that you wanted to discuss this night when we don't have parental supervision or structure?
I know, right? No, I don't really have anything. Mm-mm.
Okay. Well,
I looked at what I had put together already, and I was like, this all kind of sucks.
No. That's absolutely understandable. Again, internet's out for 20 straight hours, so might as well go with what we got. And
Might as well go take a nap, which is what I did today.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
And let's see if there's anything else that I showed. Just real quick run around the net. And well, come on. Oh, yes, we do. Headline: Biden warns dark forces thirst for power. Literally.
Oh, right, because he spoke tonight, didn't he?
Well, probably speaks a lot of nights.
No, he was on TV. He had like a national address or something tonight.
Oh,
It was at. I think it was at 8 Eastern. So.
Oh, wow. Well, okay. Well, probably more people actually listen to us than listen to him.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Oh my. Well, here's a great headline. Magazine: Democrats keep falling for superstar losers like, Beto.
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 Robert Francis.
And George Will, in the category of whose side you on, George, begs Democrats to drop Biden Harris to save the country from the dawn. Yeah. Not kidding.
Yeah. How bad do you have to be at your job for the most reviled man in the U.S. to go, he probably is going to beat you next time if he runs again.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Again, we have entered this place where I have said before the Wilder principle of greatest amusement means
absolutely,
absolutely. If there's a
whatever's going to be the most entertaining.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm just getting the popcorn. Hang on, let me get my chair. Okay, go ahead.
And we have Spence Wheel, Drag Queen Story Hour is elected president. Why not? Maybe the state of Wisconsin could be elected president. All right. Well, on that note, we should probably.
Well, no, I did have one more thing because since we were talking about Joe, the thing with his hand. Okay. The visual's up there.
Yes. Yeah. Did you find the visual on that?
Yeah, it's on screen right now.
Okay.
I'll let you, since you alerted me to this story, I'll let you go ahead with that.
Well, it's saying low system resources may affect our audio quality, but if you can see the picture of Joe Biden's hand, it looks like he's been flailing around in dementia and ripping his IV out of his hand, or maybe having chemo. Who can say? But what do you have?
See, I don't think it's chemo, because when you do the chemo thing, because my mom had to do that, they put literally like a little thing they install in your chest, like right above your boobie area, and so that way they have a port there that they can use all the time that they just plug it into, and they don't have to stick you every time.
Well, they say that the left hand is closest to the nose, so maybe he has sniffer cancer.
from sniffing all those things he shouldn't have been sniffing.
And what am I doing here?
And
Why
I
the
don't
hell
know
would
if
I
you
take
can
a
hear me.
test?
You're starting to break up, and I believe that's.
Come on, man.
So we probably ought to say we ought to say goodnight tonight.
Oh. Again, I'm jumping from window to window. I don't know what I'm doing.
I'm on vacation.
Well, thank you everyone once again for joining in on Bombs and Bants Live. I am your humble host, John Wilder. And with me as always is...
The Mrs.
Thank you for joining in.
But no Mark, who has been kidnapped by aliens.
Yes, I'm sure he'll show up next week, but thank you very, very much.
Y'all come back now, you hear?